More news out of the Hunter Biden case coming from the IRS whistleblower's testimony last week. Our national correspondent Logan Raddick has more. Logan.
Well, Bob, Gary Shapley, who is the IRS whistleblower who spent 14 years with the IRS, he says that the Justice Department was interfering into their tax fraud investigation into Hunter Biden. Now, Shapley alleges that as IRS criminal investigators prepared an affidavit for a search warrant on a storage unit Hunter Biden used for his business records, Assistant Delaware U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf objected, but U.S. Attorney David Weiss overruled her. Now, Shapley said then said, quote, United States Attorney Weiss agreed that if the storage unit wasn't accessed for 30 days, we could execute a search warrant on it. No sooner had we gotten off the call than we heard Assistant U.S. Attorney Wolf had simply reached out to Hunter Biden's defense counsel and told him about the storage unit, once again ruining our chance to get to evidence before being destroyed, manipulated, or concealed. Little is known about Assistant U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf. We do know that she graduated from Columbia Law School. She worked at Ballard Spahr, which is a law firm where employees majority donate to Democrats. Over 95% of the employees donate to Democrats. And in 2020, she donated $50 to Act Blue, which is an online fundraising platform for Democrats. Now, Shapley says he, quote, had obvious questions like who was H, who the big guy was, and why this percentage was to be held separately with the association hidden. But Assistant U.S. Attorney Wolf interjected and said she did not want to ask about the big guy and stated she did not want to ask questions about Dad. Now, Attorney General Merrick Garland said Republican claims that the DOJ may have interfered with the 5-year probe are false, but he says that U.S. Attorney David Weiss decided on his own accord to strike that plea deal with Hunter Biden.
I'd say he was given complete authority to make all decisions on his own. I don't know how it would be possible for anybody to block him from bringing a prosecution, given that he has this authority.
And Attorney General Garland also denied claims by the whistleblower that the Justice Department denied a request by Weiss to be made special counsel.
The only person with authority to make somebody a special counsel or refuse to make somebody a special counsel is the Attorney General. Mr. Weiss never made that request to me.
But Shapley's attorneys insist that is not the case. They released a statement saying, in part, quote, in an October 7th, 2022 meeting at the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office, U.S. Attorney David Weiss told 6 witnesses he did not have authority to charge in other districts and had thus requested special counsel status. The lawyers also named the names of the 6 witnesses from the FBI and IRS who they say are able to corroborate that Weiss said his request was denied. But in a letter sent to Congress on June 7th, Weiss said he'd been granted ultimate authority over prosecutorial decisions. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware is declining to comment. Speaker Kevin McCarthy says the House will begin impeachment proceedings against Attorney General Merrick Garland if the whistleblower's claims are proven to be true. But in the investigation that's being conducted by House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, he says he will unveil new bank records regarding Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings, some of which he says are from Chinese-linked companies. Back to you.
Thank you, Logan. Here to discuss our panel for the day, civil rights attorney and criminal justice reform activist Jessica Jackson, former Republican congressman from Georgia and colonel in the U.S. Air Force Reserve, Doug Collins, and also in studio, GOP strategist and former U.S. Senate candidate for New York, Joe Pinion. Congressman, I'll start with you. Your assessment of where we stand right now and whether this topic is really gaining traction with the American public.
Well, I think it's twofold there, Bob. I think, is it gaining traction? Maybe. Again, it's going to take a lot more, but you're starting to see Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. There's starting to be a little bit more mainstream coverage. There's still no mainstream coverage from the basically the protection media that's going on for the Bidens right now. But one thing that's very interesting here, though, is the more this comes out, it's harder and harder for the White House to ignore it. It's harder and harder, as we saw last week, for the media not to ask questions. But I did think it was really interesting in those interviews just now where it said he was given full prosecutorial discretion. That doesn't say that it was going at the issue of charging. My concern and what these documents are showing was there was interference in the investigation that could have led to charges. So there's a difference here that I think you need to look at here. He was given full ability to charge, but if there was problems going on in obstruction in actually investigating, that could affect the charges.
Right. Well, those charges, two of which for related to taxes, one of which for guns, which could have carried a sentence of 10 years. He ended up just getting probation. Joe, I wanted to ask you, do you think that the deal that he got was a quote unquote sweetheart deal?
Well, look, I think it is both a sweetheart deal and also a distraction. You have to remember that if we're just being brutally honest, a gun charge against Hunter Biden does not have much bearing on the United States of America. Tax charges for Hunter Biden, not much bearing on the United States of America. And so I think to the greater point, if there were actual people within our Department of Justice interfering with our ability to actually go into the more pertinent aspects, what was happening with the emails that he sent that were requesting access to his father or his father's chief of staff when he was the vice president, what was going on with the money that was given to that family as a result of the FaceTime that was granted, confirmed by those White House logs. In many ways, they have sacrificed the arm to preserve the body. And as you see here with them saying, we didn't want to talk about the 10% for the big guy, we didn't want to ask questions about dad. The only reason anyone cares about Hunter Biden, either to give him money or because of what he has done with that money, is because of who his father is.
Right.
That is the crux of this, and that is why the manner in which this has been handled, from Merrick Garland to the FBI, stinks to the high heaven.
Right.
Yeah, Jessica, talk, if you would, your thoughts about this. I believe you tend to be to the left of the aisle, if you will. And like a lot of people, as I understand it, you're becoming a little more concerned. I think the Wall Street Journal said something like, there's smoke but no fire. Now, that was, what, a couple of weeks ago? There seems to be a lot of smoke and more smoke coming out.
I wouldn't say I'm becoming more conservative, but what I will say is that I am so happy to see folks on the right waking up to a fact that we have long known, which is the DOJ needs more oversight. They absolutely need more oversight. This is not the only case they need it in. In fact, I was just in a hearing last week on Capitol Hill where the DOJ was going after a man by the name of Philippus Formas, who had gotten a commutation under President Trump, come home, started giving back to his family, and now the DOJ is retrying him for some of the conduct that he had been sentenced for and gotten a commutation from. They are constantly overreaching their authority and making American lives worse for it.
Jessica, I did want to follow up with you. Do you think that the deal that he received was a fair one? Because if we look at he falls right in the middle of the category of people who get charged for these types of Hunter, yeah, tax crimes, and yet he didn't receive really any sort of punishment at all.
Listen, I think that these are the kind of crimes that can be dealt with in diversion. You've got our prisons and jails full of people who are not getting better because they're inside the prisons and jails. They're not getting access to rehabilitative care. They're not getting the help they need. Here you have somebody who had a substance abuse problem. He got the help he needed for that substance abuse problem. Now he's going to take accountability by doing this diversion program. The problem is, I wish everybody had access to that kind of